Welcome to Mac Advantage, Professional Perspective in Accounting. My name is Scott Showalter. I'm the director of the Jenkins Master of Accounting program. Today, we're very fortunate to have Lee White join us. Lee is the CEO of the International Federation of Accountants, or IFAC. It is very safe to say that Lee has seen a lot when it comes to the global accounting profession. At this time, we'll just jump into our first question, Lee. So welcome to our Mac Advantage.
Thank you very much, Scott. Thank you. Pleasure to be with you.
Okay. You have served in a variety of roles when you reflect on your career. Please provide just a brief summary of your career experiences for our audience.
Thank you, Scott. Well, my entrance into professional accounting is probably somewhat of what might be described as a traditional route. I joined the audit division of Coopers & Lybrand in Sydney many years ago. Wonderful time in my career to be in professional practice, and I always look back in those times with great fondness. I moved then from private sector auditing to public sector auditing, Auditor-General of New South Wales. Again, a wonderful time in my career. Working in the public sector gave me perspectives that I hadn't experienced within the private sector to date, and gave some real challenges to me. From there, I was fortunate to move across to the securities and audit regulator within Australia, which has the acronym of ASIC. So I was the chief accountant of ASIC for about 7 years, where I fulfilled the role of securities regulator, audit regulator, but also allowed me to start to develop my international network, both through IOSCO, the securities regulator, and IFAC, the audit regulator side of things. From there, I became the first role as a CEO. I joined the Australian Institute of Chartered Accountants, one of the national professional bodies in Australia. I was the CEO there, and then during my tenure there, we did a vote between the Australian and New Zealand chartered accountant bodies, which ultimately led to a merger, creation of Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand, and I was the inaugural Chief Executive Officer of that professional body. From there, I then took the step to move to the United Kingdom, where I took on the role of the Managing Director of the IFRS Foundation. I did that from early 2018 to early 2024. And that was a fantastic time in my career because it led to the creation of the ISSB. Sorry, Scott, for so many acronyms here, the International Sustainability Standards Board. And from early 2024, I then moved across, as you rightly said, to being the Chief Executive Officer of IFAC. And here we are.
Thanks, Lee. And as I said, you have a variety of experiences on a global scale, and it's understandable. If you're in the accounting profession, you got to deal with the acronyms. Totally understand.
Yes, quite so. I'm very lucky.
You did mention you were the CEO of the International Federation of Accountants, and our audience may not be familiar with that organization, or is not as familiar as they should be. So if you can describe what that organization does and what your role is in that organization.
Sure. So IFAC is purely a membership body. So it brings together at this time 188 members from over 140 countries around the globe. So for some of your listeners, one of the members is the AICPA, the American Institute of Certified Practicing Accountants. And it brings all of the members together in order to reach out for global positioning of our profession. And our profession truly, Scott, is one of those that is absolutely 150% a global profession. So our role is fairly, or my role is fairly straightforward. We have a number of priorities which we are focused on, but we are there to advocate be the global voice of our profession. Secondly, to ensure that we advance high quality standards in both the private and the public sector, and that's incredibly important. And education, I should add as well. And certainly we become a platform of convening where we bring our members together and a range of other key stakeholders, such as regulators, so forth, in really to ensure that we engage importantly for our profession and looking ahead to make sure we are a profession fit for purpose in our future.
Great. Yeah, I do know my email stays pretty busy with information from your organization about as you're trying to put all these pieces together. And as you reflect on IFAC and what lies ahead, what are some of the challenges facing IFAC in the near future?
Yeah, there is a few, Scott, and I will say challenges and opportunities at the same time, and that's my personal challenge to convert them into opportunities, which then enabled our profession to fulfill. Without choosing a topic, I'd like to start with just the theme, Scott, of the pace of change for our profession. And maybe this is me now being relatively a veteran, but my goodness, the pace of change just feels so quicker than what I've felt in my career, and really quite challenging in terms of just the nature of the change associated as well with that pace. But let me try and give a little bit more context to some of the challenges. First is, as I said to you earlier, Scott, we are truly a global profession. And one of the challenges to that global profession at this time is increased geopolitical pressure. And the challenge here is to ensure that we as a profession remain inclusive and always global in our activities and our perspectives. And there is a challenge that sometimes some of the geopolitical tensions could spill down into our profession and act as a leverage for division. And so for me, as the CE, it's my important role to ensure that we remain inclusive and, importantly, a stable platform of our profession. Next piece I'd say, Scott, would be certainly around attraction of future talent to our profession. And it's probably fair to say that in these times, there's many opportunities for the next generations of talent to determine what they wish to do in their career. And we believe incredibly passionately that a career in professional accounting delivers incredible satisfaction, value for an individual entering into it. But many would say, well, there's ample opportunity in other professions outside of accounting. So my goal, and I can tell you how we've approached this, is to remain very attractive to the next generations of talent coming into our profession. When I think of the pace, Scott, and what I spoke about earlier about ensuring we support high quality standards and implementation, if I think through the reporting side, both in the public sector and the private sector, the pace of developments, particularly with broader corporate reporting, sustainability and climate-related disclosures, these are developments which, in my view, have happened, never with a compromise of due process, so they remain high quality, but have moved at rapid pace. So the work of the International Sustainability Standards Board, only created in late 2021, and by June of 2023 had produced two standards, S1 and S2. That has been rapid progress. And then I look to the IPSASB, which you're well aware of, Scott, and thank you so much for all of your leadership and involvement. again, rapid pace and alignment to some of the work that the ISSB had done on climate-related disclosures. So rapid pace of standard setting, and again, in the assurance and ethics side of our profession, similarly during the course of late 2023 and into 2024, production of standards that were very much accompanying the reporting side of things. And finally, and I will be quiet then, Scott, but this sense of rapid pace with the use of artificial intelligence and other forms of technology in our profession is very, very rapid, and therefore ensuring that it's used in appropriate ways. We encourage the use of technology into our profession, but always with the right boundaries of ethical behaviour.
Right. I would agree with you, Lee. All those challenges are very clearly represent opportunities for our profession and where we can go. And with that,
Very much. Yeah.
You did join IFAC in March of 2024. So you've been there about a year and a half. And as you look forward, what are your aspirational goals during your tenure as the CEO of IFAC?
Yeah, thank you, Scott. And I've got to say to you, mate, it has been a busy 18 months or so, but very enjoyable. I feel absolutely privileged to be in a leadership role globally for our profession. I think for me, and it will build a little bit on some of the challenges that I just mentioned, ensuring the profession remains truly global and inclusive is really, really important, because sometimes human nature, you can easily point to areas of division. And for me, that's a bad place. We need to remain truly a global profession, and that's a huge strength of what we have. Secondly, I am changing the business model of IFAC. I've seen some pressure into what we've previously had as our business model. And like all businesses, they need to be healthily reshaped regularly in order to make sure that the organisation is fit for purpose. Part of that, Scott, is ensuring we move more to a multi-location model reflective of the breadth of our membership. And importantly, I'm instilling a very much a member-centric focus into how we operate. This is really important. I set this tone from the top of being member-centric in the activities that we undertake, because we're there to deliver value for our members. Very, very important. I think navigating the attractiveness parts to our profession is really important for me personally, because it then leads to that flow of talent. So we've done a couple of new initiatives very recently. We've used a phrase, opening doors, and embedding some new principles for our members across the globe to look at ways, without compromising quality, but to look at ways to broaden the nature of the way in which people can, initially be attracted into our profession. It means broader reach of professional backgrounds, breaking down some of the barriers that in some jurisdictions are quite profoundly there to limit movement into our profession. But also then, once people are in, to always think carefully about retention. And therefore, at times, there's been barriers. We all have lives, and barriers arise at time. And we want to make sure that people, if they feel they need to put a pause on their career in professional accounting, it's not a permanent stop. So that's important. The other piece, Scott, is, sometimes our profession attracts perceptions that are not always the favourable way to think about professional accountants. You're the guys and girls that are just good with numbers. And we've got a great story to tell, but we find it challenging at times to get that story told as well as it should. So look ahead to early Q1 of 2026 calendar year, and there'll be a lot more material coming out from our professional memberships, very much more catered for the 16 to 18-year-olds, to cut through some of the perceptions and tell a more exciting and truly valuable story to who we are as professional accountants. So they would be just some of my top of my list priorities after that 18 months.
Sounds like a very long list. You're going to get tired doing all that.
Well, it's good fun. It's good fun, Scott.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate that last item you talked about as an individual that works with students constantly to open the profession up to them. I look forward to that information to be able to share that with our students.
Yeah, and I think it won't just be the materials, Scott. If we do this well, it will be every member across our membership, but across the globe, telling a similar story. So the consistency of messaging will be very important, and we will ensure that we've got much more materials ahead. We'll measure the impact as we have to with these types of initiatives, but I feel very confident in the material I've seen so far, how it tells the story of the importance of professional accountants, but from very different styles. So it's very much catered, as I said, for the 16 to 18-year-olds.
Look forward to it. One thing I do is I follow you on LinkedIn, and I know you're a globe trotter, but definitely I can't believe how you get from one place to the next and so quick. So as I think about the accounting profession and the future state of the accounting profession locally, I can think of no one better qualified to be able to talk about that. So what are your views about the future of the accounting profession?
And you might say, and thank you so much for your kind words, but my focus is always to be with our members. That's the most important piece for me. But I'm really very confident and upbeat, if that's the right way to say it, Scott, about what our profession will look like in the future. And I mean this really sincerely. I wish I was starting my career again, because I feel the opportunities and sort of the diversity of skills that professional accountants will start to grow and nurture in these next phases is just fantastic. So in my head, I see our profession always with the strength of the skills that we're known for, strong education, absolutely first-rate commitment to the public interest, serving that distinction very, very importantly. But we'll be technically savvy, technology savvy in what we undertake. So the integration of technology and professional accounting is just getting closer and closer together. And I think that's incredibly exciting to see where those steps then take us. And I feel with some of the newer developments around the broader corporate reporting and sustainability, it allows us to tell our story in a much more purposeful way than perhaps just being the people good with the numbers. So I'm really upbeat about it. Very, very positive.
Great. Glad to hear. Glad to hear. And I would agree with you on that upbeat. I'm also as well as see students. So I'm going to bring this down a little personal with you here. What do you do in your
Sure.
spare time when you're not out here advancing global accounting profession?
Well, let me say a couple of things. The first is I've found in my career having a great focus outside of family and professional work is really, really important. So for your listeners, I'd always say keep a focus on what really motivates you and what works for you outside of family and work, because it will hold you in very good stead. So for me personally, I'm a big motorbike fella. So for probably more years than I'd like to admit to, I've raced motorcycles. I've worked on motorbikes in terms of the engine. I do all my own work with the engine, self-taught. A lot of my racing friends only know me as Lee, the guy that works in an office. So they don't know anything about what we've been just chatting about in career-wise. And I really love that because it just gives me an opportunity to engage with people in a very different way to my professional life. And I love having that opportunity. Bikes make me feel really energized when things go well, and obviously at times they don't go so well. That's another story. But that's what I do. I have motorbikes, I race them, I use them for all sorts of reasons. Perhaps, Scott, I've got too many now. I find it difficult to even sell one, but they're good fun. But whatever it is, for everyone listening in, whatever it is in your personal life that brings you joy and allows you to switch off your mind from your professional life, just pursue it. That's all I'll say. We're all going to be different, but pursue what works for you.
Great. Well, yeah, I really appreciate that work-life balance comment that you made there, because that's so important to do the job that we're being asked to do for the public interest. And
It sure is. And I think maybe early in your career, sometimes it might feel like, well, I can always come back to this stuff later. And my encouragement is don't leave it to one side. Always keep that level of engagement outside your professional career.
well, thank you. Our time has come to an end, so I want to ask the last question, which was any final comments you'd like to share with our audience before we wrap this up today?
Always a great question to finish on, Scott, so thank you for doing that. Let me try and perhaps just recapture a couple of themes that we've explored during our chat. First is, in late 2025, I can tell you, looking ahead, it's a fantastic time to become a professional accountant. It really is. Don't get swayed by the well-embedded perceptions at times that accountants are just those quiet people in the back room working on the numbers. Our profession is much broader than that, and wonderful opportunities for all to engage in ahead. But, we will win the battle. We'll continue to win the battle for talent. And I'm very committed to doing that as the leader of our profession. Careers go fast. Careers go really fast. And therefore, my encouragement is always find a career such as professional accounting that will give you enjoyment. I won't say day to day, that might be a bit bold of me, but provides a lovely sense of enjoyment throughout your career. If you don't enjoy it, don't do it, because careers go so quickly. And finally, let me come back to my last message, that it's important always to strike a good balance between your family commitments, between what you do in your professional career, and spending time enjoying what you do as well. That's important.
Lee, I think it's obvious now why to our audience why I asked you on. You're a great representative of the global accounting profession, and I want to thank you so much for sharing your views. I'm sure our audience will come away with some things they hadn't thought about, and I want to thank you for their time today.
It's my pleasure, Scott, and always available for any of these types of conversations in the future. But I thank you and to the NCSU for the wonderful opportunity to engage today, and I wish everyone the very best.
Thank you.